What's with her?
What's with your face? What is with you?
When a new Pixar movie comes out, oh, you can bet your bottom dollar, or loonie, that there's gonna be a reference to the next one. Luca referenced Turning Red with a sticker for the boy band Four Town. Also referenced Lightyear in sticker form with a Star Command sticker on the underside of a skateboard. Pixar fans have enjoyed catching these hidden details over the years, but they have not all been Pixar related. In this video, we'll take a look at 20 or so things that only fans noticed in Turning Red, and all the brilliant attention to detail that turned this movie into another Pixar gem. First off the bat is a small, heartwarming detail about Tyler. Now, Tyler starts off as a relatively antagonistic character, but eventually becomes friends with the main group of girls through their shared love of Four Town. This is expressed at the end of the movie, when Tyler is wearing one of the friendship bracelets that the girls collectively wear, indicating they made him have his very own one. Now, doesn't that just make you smile? Going back to the Pixar references now, this movie is absolutely packed full of Easter eggs and callbacks to the animation studio, whether it be a sticker of a Finding Nemo-like clownfish on a bathroom stall, a skeleton of a snipe from the movie Up, Coco on the streets of Toronto, images of mermen, which gives us Luca vibes, the cloud formation from Andy's wallpaper in Toy Story, a sticker of the rainbow unicorn from Inside Out on a cell phone, Socks, the cat from Lightyear, can also be seen on the skateboard, and Crystal from Onward also makes an appearance. We also see many references to Turning Red director's short film Bao, with the signs seen on the streets of Toronto, as well as the Bao dumplings that May's father Jin makes. A keychain of Pearl from the movie of the same name, and the rabbit from Burrow seen on May's notebook.
To infinity and beyond!
Turning Red also includes the classic Pixar Easter eggs seen in basically all of their movies, which include the Luxo Ball, which can be seen in the pool at Tyler's house, the Pizza Planet truck, which can be seen on a city street as May runs into the Sky Dome, and a reference to A113, the famous classroom used by graphic design students at the California Institute of the Arts, which can be seen on a ticket during the end credits and on the chalker at the Sky Dome. Also, the red moon being on May 25th is likely a reference to Turning Red being Pixar's 25th feature film, as the actual red moon in 2002 was on May 26th. While Turning Red has many Pixar firsts, one of the most notable is the first mention of a character with diabetes. In the moment May turns into a red panda at school for the first time and runs into the bathroom, you can see that the girl, Stacy, who comes out of the stall, is wearing an insulin pump. This was apparently included in the movie after the movie's technical supervisor, Susan Fong, who has lived with type 1 diabetes since she was 4 years old, asked to include characters with diabetes in the film. Now, you likely caught the Twilight joke in the movie, with the Nightfall book that Priya is reading being very reminiscent of the extremely popular vampire series, but did you catch the little extra joke on the cover of the book? If you look very closely, you can see that one of the reviews on the back of the book reads, "Spellbinding, you won't be able to put it down. Author's grandmother." Well, hey, at least her grandmother supports her. I can't even get my grandmother to watch these videos. If you're a fan of Pixar movies, you probably caught a lot of the Pixar references, but if you're a fan of Toronto or live in the city, you would have caught a ton of nods to the Six and Canadiana in general. Toronto's sports teams are referenced with the Blue Jays seen outside of the Sky Dome, which of course is the home to the Toronto Blue Jays at the end of the movie. The stuffed bear with the Maple Leafs scene behind May's math teacher, which is a reference to the Toronto Maple Leafs and their mascot, Carlton. And then you got the purple Vince Carter Toronto Raptors jersey that Tyler wears. Another reference to Toronto include the vibrant red streetcars that still cruise down the Toronto streets to this day. You've got the Daisy Mart, which is a real chain in Canada, and of course, the inclusion of real Toronto areas and landmarks such as the CN Tower, Kensington Market, Chinatown, and the aforementioned Sky Dome, or Rogers Centre as it's known now. References to Canada can be seen in the accurate depiction of Canadian money. You got loonies and toonies and blue $5 bills, the inclusion of Canada's favorite little snack there, the Timbit, the school named after Canada's 14th Prime Minister, Lester B. Pearson, Canadian lingo such as toque, and the national anthem that can be heard during May's flute recital. Going back to the references now, Turning Red makes a callback to one of Disney's most popular movies of all time. Mulan, in porridge form. In the moment where Ming arranges Mei's porridge to look like a smiley face, it feels a lot like the moment from Mulan when Mushu arranges Mulan's breakfast in the same way. The film also features 2 hidden Mickeys, one of which can be seen in some donut holes, while the other can be seen in some balloons at Tyler's party. Also, in the moment where Mei ogles at her crush Devon, she starts thumping her foot, like Thumper from Bambi. Back to Mei's math teacher. If you look at the other side of the frame, you can spot a poster for the 1980 Winter Games, which involved one of the most famous games in hockey history. At the 1980 Winter Olympics, the US men's ice hockey team famously defeated the Soviet Union in what would come to be known as the Miracle on Ice, and it's also the inspiration behind the movie Miracle. Why a Canadian teacher has that on his wall behind him? Yeah, that's beyond me, as I don't think Canada sees that game in quite the same way the US does, but hey, still. This may come as a surprise, but people on the internet don't often agree on much. But I think that we can all agree that red pandas are freaking adorable, no? One of their cutest quirks is that when they get frightened, they throw their paws up in the air as if they were told to put their hands up where I can see them. Turning Red makes a reference to this as Red Panda Mei is running through Toronto. She puts her hands in the air whenever she gets startled. Turning Red pays a lot of references to the popular items, music, and shows of the early 2000s, and one of those shows was undoubtedly the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. One of the landmark moments of the show, other than Carlton dancing to Tom Jones of course, was the iconic handshake between Will and his buddy Jazz, something which Turning Red replicated with Priya and Mei. Turning Red has a bunch of small details in the background that make the movie feel much more authentic and lived in. A prime example of this is the claw and the paw marks that can be seen all over Mei's room after her panda transformation, showing the real damage Mei can achieve when struggling to control her panda self. This one might be coincidental, but there was one line in the movie that gave me some serious Despicable Me vibes. When Miriam, Abby, and Priya first discover that Mei's a red panda, Abby's reaction in line of, "You're so fluffy," reminded me of the moment in Despicable Me when Angus yells, "It's so fluffy, I'm gonna die." Also, did I mention that Abby's outfit kind of looks like Boo's door from Monsters, Inc? Another coincidence perhaps, but hey, I've said it now, so yeah, I'm gonna count it. If there is one number that plays a reoccurring theme in the movie, it's the number 4, with there being the 4 friends, the band, 4 Town, and the fact that Mei's grandmother sees the number as unlucky, and the worst number. That's because in Chinese numerology, 4 is considered an unlucky number because of the way it's pronounced. And when you pronounce 4 and death, they only differ in tone, and the 4th floor is usually omitted from most elevator fixtures in a Chinese building. In fact, Sony were seriously considering naming the PlayStation 4 or something else, as they were worried it would be a bad omen and that it would flop, until they eventually decided, obviously, to stick with it. In amongst references to other Pixar movies, Toronto and the Fresh Prince, Turning Red also references the legend that is Bruce Lee. During the game of dodgeball, Mei's math and gym teacher tells the students to, quote, "be water," end quote, which is similar to the Bruce Lee quote, "now water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend," end quote. One of the most prevalent themes in Turning Red is the color red motif, and it can be seen to represent Mei going through puberty and her transition into womanhood, with a red peony being a metaphor for a period. As Mei transitions into her panda self, her hair goes red, the curse is shown in red lighting, and Mei's hoodie is red. But her full name, Mei Lin, can be translated as Beautiful Rose, which further reinforces the red motif. This makes sense, as red is an important color in Chinese culture, symbolizing luck, joy, happiness, celebration. In contrast to this, you'll notice that Ming, Wu, and Mei's aunties all wear green, as in color theory, green is directly across from red, which makes them complementary. Keeping on with the color theory references, all of Mei's friends wear colors that are all, according to color theory, complementary to one another, with Priya wearing yellow, Abby's got purple, Miriam green, and of course Mei red, which likely signifies how well they work as a team. But going back to the name meanings, the family's nickname for Mei Lin, Mei Mei, is also Mandarin for little sister, while Min means bright and Jin means tenderness. Turning Red also pays reference to many different animes, such as the works of Hayao Miyazaki, with Domee Shi saying that she was greatly inspired by his masterpiece Spirited Away, but more on him later on. The animation style for Turning Red is heavily influenced by anime. For example, the moment when Mei embraces her red panda powers and leaps into the air, which feels very similar to Sailor Moon and other anime characters. Domee Shi was also influenced by Fruits Basket, Ranma, and Inuyasha, which shares themes of adolescence and transformations in wacky situations, while the pose that Mei makes while leaping in human form is identical to the pose that Makoto Kano makes in the 2006 anime film The Girl Who Leapt Through Time. Famously, the girls run into Tyler at the Four Town concert, which leads them to becoming friends, but did you notice the other Four Town head in the audience? At the beginning of the Four Town concert, you can spot Devon in the crowd taking pictures of the band with a disposable camera. I think that if anyone would have told me that he was at the concert, her head would literally explode. Parallels can be drawn between Turning Red and Teen Wolf, where Scott Howard learns from his father Harold that being a werewolf runs in the family, and he eventually decides to take advantage of his trait, just like Mei does with her panda form. But the most direct reference comes in the moment when Mei notices that she's in panda form for the first time in the bathroom mirror, which is very similar to the memorable scene from Teen Wolf when Scott sees himself as a wolf for the first time in the bathroom, and both characters try to prevent their parents from seeing them. Now, Four Town are very obviously an amalgamation of a number of boy bands from the early 2000s, with their name being a mashup of boy bands O-Town and Before Four. Also, the outfits that Four Town wears during their Skydome concert are very similar to the outfits the Backstreet Boys wear in their I Want It That Way music video from 1999. Also, kind of fun fact, on Four Town member Jesse's profile on the fourtown.com website, it's revealed that he's actually a father. The profile reads, quote, "The oldest member of Four Town, Jesse was in art school pursuing a degree in ceramics before the band took off. When fame starts getting to his head, throwing clay on his potter's wheel and spending time with his two kids brings him back down to earth." End quote. Also, did you know the music of Four Town is written by Billie Eilish in collaboration with her brother music producer Phineas? You probably did, but that one shocked me. I said I'd come back to him. And that's because Turning Red has a hilarious unused working title that pays homage to one of Hayao Miyazaki's best-known movies. In the Turning Red documentary, it's revealed that an unused working title for the movie was My Neighbor Toronto, which works on so many levels, as not only is the movie based in Toronto, but parallels can be drawn between Miyazaki's My Neighbor Totoro, with both films having similar themes and adorable giant monsters. Like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, The Simpsons was arguably at its peak in the early 2000s, with it being everywhere in pop culture. And so it's no surprise that Turning Red pays reference to the show in the moment that Mei greets the two red panda statues at the entrance of the temple by saying, "Hi Bart, hi Lisa," which is very obviously a reference to the famous siblings. But did anyone else think that Mei's rushed flute recital was similar to Lisa playing the saxophone during The Simpsons opening credits, or is that just me? Back to the temple though. It was actually inspired by the Bok-Kai Temple, a historical landmark in Marysville, California that was built by the local Chinese community in 1880. Also, the red pandas guarding Mei Lin's family temple are based on Buddhist neo-guardians, with one having its mouth open and the other having it closed, which symbolizes the birth and the death of all things. You know what? You made it this far in the video, so one, kudos to you, and two, you deserve a bonus one, so here we go. At the 33:26 mark, when a transformed Mei drops on the floor and embraces the toy, from a down view, it forms a figure that looks a lot like the Firefox web browser logo, only upside down. This makes a lot of sense, as actually, contrary to popular belief, the animal in the logo is not an actual fox, but a red panda, with the English word for the red panda being, get ready for it, Firefox. Also, did anyone notice Mei's bag joke? When Mei heads to school with her beanie on, her backpack has a label saying Bag Sport, similar to the label Jansport. Also, the stickers in the background where Mei has her flute recital read Y2K, A-OK, and Saving the Whales, both of which were hot topics in the early 2000s. And finally, I don't know if this is intentional or not, but one thing I noticed is that the poster of Turning Red looks a lot like the cover for the 1977 Japanese horror comedy Hauzu or House, where a schoolgirl and 6 of her classmates travel to her aunt's haunted country home. Maybe it's a coincidence, but I don't know. I like to think that it was intentional.